Who is Esther Handali, the woman of great influence in the Ottoman Court? For its residents, the opulent harem of the Ottoman sultans was a golden cage with its elaborate fountains, lofty painted ceilings, and sumptuous baths. The ladies were not allowed to freely communicate with anyone outside of the harem. They were typically taken as slaves from far-off places and forced into the harem. However, a few of the women were able to gain authority over the sultans to the point where historians dubbed the period from 1534 to 1683 the Women's Sultanate. The women, who were either the reigning sultan's favorite wives or queen mothers, achieved this achievement with the assistance of their kiras, a female personal assistant who served as the Eastern counterpart of ladies-in-waiting. Because of the limitations imposed on women in Muslim society, it was easy for an Ottoman queen to hire a non-Muslim kira. Because Jewish women could communicate with the outside world and act as a link between it and the harem's occupants, a significant portion of these kiras were Jewish. Jewish women of influence in the Ottoman court. Esther Handali was a Jewish kira who became well known. Her parents were presumably banished from Spain, despite the fact that little is known about her early years. Rabbi Eliyahu Handali, who dealt in jewelry, cosmetics, and other baubles, was her husband. Esther started going to the harem during Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent's reign and selling these goods to the harem's occupants on her husband's behalf. Sadly, Esther's husband passed away too soon, leaving her and her 3 sons on her own. She carried on exploring the harem and made friends with the powerful ladies there. In addition to her goods, Esther offered them intriguing discussion, cozy company, and news from the outside world. She eventually became essential to the harem's female members. Her responsibilities ranged from helping ladies give birth to composing letters and delivering them to the correct people. During Esther's 20s, in 1539, Sultan Suleiman acknowledged her contributions and issued a royal decree known as a firman. This edict exempted her and her descendants from paying taxes and gave them further unique rights. Esther's influence and authority increased throughout time. All the officials bowed down and prostrated themselves before her, and all those who desired aught from the Sultan came and went forth at her bidding, according to a modern Hebrew chronicler. Throughout her profession, Esther amassed substantial riches. The Jewish community remembers her for her generosity. She welcomed the impoverished to her table. She backed the publishing of Jewish publications and Jewish experts. She frequently provided aid to anti-Jewish riot victims. According to legend, Esther intervened to save her people when Sultan Murad III threatened to exterminate the Jewish community, just like the biblical Esther did. Istanbul's Jewish neighborhood was destroyed by a devastating fire in September of 1569. Indeed, this fire is regarded as the largest of the 16th century. The Jewish bakery is thought to be the source of the fire. That year's summer was extremely dry, with 5 months without rain. The dense Jewish neighborhood saw the fires spread swiftly. The fact that the top military commander wasn't feeling well at the time didn't help either. Instead of putting out the fire, the troops tried to pillage the neighborhood. The Jewish quarters dwellings were all destroyed in the fire. According to a European envoy, 36,000 homes were completely demolished. When the residents of the Jewish quarter were homeless, Esther came to their aid. She invested a lot of money and time to assist them rebuild, even though at that point in her career she was already incredibly affluent. Esther grew to be close to Sultan Murad III's favorite wife, Safiye, throughout his rule. She took care of Safiye's diplomatic correspondence while serving as a spy and a translator. In 1584, Esther maintained the correspondence between Safiye Sultan and Catherine de' Medici, the Queen Mother of France, who sought the Ottoman Empire's support against Spain. In 1587, Esther was rewarded for her diplomatic efforts with Venice with the right to start her own lottery in the Venetian Republic. Unfortunately, as often happens, Esther's power and influence arose much jealousy in the Ottoman court. After the death of Sultan Murad III, the Ottoman Empire was embroiled in intrigue and unrest. The new Sultan, Muhammad III, wanted to assert his own power by decreasing his mother Safiye's influence. No longer deterred by Safiye, Esther's enemies conspired against her. In 1600, while well in her 80s, Esther was dragged from the imperial palace, attacked, and brutally murdered. At least 2 of her sons were also murdered in this attack. The fate of her third son is unknown. Esther's vast fortune was confiscated upon her murder. Years later, in 1618, the new Sultan, Osman II, restored Esther's wealth to her grandchildren.